My name's Amber Hyder. I'm 22, and if it wasn't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be alive today. I attempted to take my life 8 times within 3 years. I was also diagnosed with personality disorders. With that came a lot of paranoia, a lot of hallucinations, and so there was just a loss of touch with what was even real. And then about 2 or 3 years of going into psychiatric hospitals and residential facilities, I had what they called a one-to-one, where someone's within an arm's length distance at all times, whether you're sleeping, going to the bathroom, anything. I would do things like running out of the cafeteria with a knife, and then they'd have to tackle me, or jumping over the nurse's station to try to get a phone cord. And then when I wasn't in the hospital, I'd be planning my next attempt. I just didn't want to be with me. It was too much. It didn't feel like there was any hope or any escape, and so even dying didn't feel that hopeful. It felt like you were going to an empty grave. That was what I thought at the time, and it was just at least then it stops. I just wanted it to stop. I was frustrated from being so unsuccessful at killing myself, and so I spent the time researching how I could come up with a suicide attempt that would be lethal for real this time, so I wouldn't keep failing and being put into treatment, and came up with what I thought would be the most effective combination of drugs and medications, and then gathered those together into a bag. And when I was gonna do it, this thought came into my head: what if the Christians are right? I was terrified because I knew that if the Christians were right, that meant hell would be real. And I already felt like I was in torment, so I didn't want that to be for eternity. I wanted it to end. That was the point. I wanted to prove the Bible wrong so that I could take the medications. So I spent the month reading through the Bible. I was listening to podcasts, reading articles, watching sermons from both Christians and atheists to just really get a clear perspective of what both sides believed. And so eventually, I filled out a Connect card online, and they connected me with Pastor Josiah from Egan campus. I just had a lot of questions and felt like it would be helpful to talk to a pastor.
I just tried to answer authentically and honestly. There were a lot of things that she was trying to ask me, and I said, there are people that are great at explaining the actual factual details and the historical alignment of these things. I don't know all of that off the cuff, but I do know that Jesus has changed my life. And I do know from the many years of walking with Jesus that he's given me hope, that he's given me purpose. And I believe that if you're willing to, he would do the same for you.
Even the questions that he would say, I don't know to, he was never shaken in what he believes. He was just confident in his faith and assured of it.
And so after 2 hours of conversation, it kind of concluded with, have you ever come here for a service? This was a Thursday, and I said, if you'd like, we've got services on Sunday. We'd love to have you right here at the Egan campus. You already met me, and there would be a lot of people that I'm sure would love to meet you.
In my car on the way home, I felt what I realized later was hope. And I was just laughing and crying at the same time, and was I don't know what this is, but this is something I've never experienced. I need to go back or to figure out what this is. So that Sunday I went. I just knew that they all had something I didn't have. And I was what is this? Something's real here. I left and went home, and I was just I need to make a decision. And I had the Bible open on the floor in one room and a bag of medication and drugs in the other room. And I was today is the day. I need to decide. I can't keep being at war with myself. It was exhausting. And so I spent probably 5 or 6 hours on the floor just crying. And eventually I just gave up, and I was God, if you're real, I need you. And in that moment, he came, and his presence just flooded the place, and it the darkness and the heaviness lifted completely, tangibly. I could feel it removed from my shoulders. And from that moment on, everything just changed. I stopped going into treatment, was healed in that way. There is still healing. There's a level of freedom that came, but there's always more freedom and more healing. When I think about my future now, I see just kind of light and life, and I don't know every detail, but I just see constantly growing closer to the Lord and hearing his voice more. And that's exciting to me. Looking back now, I can see that God was faithful and he was with me the whole time, even when I was running from him.